Gamers, we've won. Grab your Monster energy drinks, your freaking Red Bulls, or whatever the hell you use to feed your caffeine addiction, because he's back. Yes, the king of YouTube is back. Moist Critical is back from his indefinite hiatus from YouTube, the internet, or whatever the hell else. And not only that, he has marked his return with 2 banger videos. No, but in all seriousness, we all expected this. There was no way that Moist Critical was taking a break from the internet. I don't know why all the news articles framed it as that. But if you guys don't know what I'm referring to, basically yesterday a bunch of news articles came out saying that Moist Critical was taking an indefinite hiatus from the internet. And all of that stemmed from a Patreon post that either Jackson or somebody from the official podcast had made, basically saying that Charlie wanted to limit his internet access. He felt like he was chronically online. And just yesterday, the day I posted my video talking about the Sneako and Moist Critical drama, Moist Critical comes out with a video basically just kind of saying, hey guys, I'm not leaving the internet. That shit ain't happening.
It turns out the patient zero behind all of this was a post Jackson made announcing that I would be leaving the podcasts, which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now. Mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, and I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey, you can put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster, but I think I'm just going to be, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online. I can't even just peacefully walk away from some projects without it being a massive fucking reaction over actual nothing burger information. And trust me, no one has a palate more refined for nothing burgers than me. I have ranted about the stupidest shit of all time, but this was mind-boggling even for me. So to set the record straight, no, I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you.
After Charlie clarified everything, involving him leaving the internet, which was never ever going to be the case, Charlie's job is on the internet. He considers his channel his little diary or journal or whatever the hell it's called. So, I mean, it was clear that Charlie was never really ever going to leave the internet fully, right? Like, dropping a couple projects is whatever. It's absolutely nothing. But the most interesting thing to come out of this video is obviously the stuff between him and Sneako. In this video, he clarifies that, he never really actually considered himself a debater, and he went into the conversation with Sneako kind of under the impression that it was just going to be a normal conversation. It wasn't going to be streamed, and it was just going to be, a conversation between him and Sneako, so that way Moist Critical could understand Sneako's perspective on the age of consent. Now, to clarify my point, I do not think that Moist Critical is a debater, right? He is pretty bad at debating. Maybe if he was a little bit more prepared for this kind of situation, it would have been a little bit better for him. And even if he was, Sneako at the very least has had some experience debating. I mean, to be fair, he has fought for his damn life in every single one of the debates that he has been in. But the only reason why I feel like this guy, Sneako, has gotten the W over Moist Critical in this quote-unquote debate is because he's at least a little bit more experienced when it comes to debating. Moist Critical admits himself that he is not a debater. He had no intention of debating, and that his views on debating are basically the same as mine. It's just like who can, kind of clarify their points the best.
When covering the Ava Tyson situation, I was attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within the first 6 hours, people were unsatisfied that I hadn't made a video within the first fucking 20 minutes of it dropping. And then when I did finally finish the full video covering all of it, it was another massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out, and then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred pronouns, which were she, her. And for that, I was annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter. And then annihilated by another good chunk of Twitter because I called out Sneako, who was the main proponent about me covering for Mr. Beast to keep the collab alive. I wasn't talking about Ava Tyson because I wanted the Mr. Beast collab.
Yo, look out, Moist Critical is not gonna go talk about the Chris situation because he wants to have the Mr. Beast collab. Bro, you're gonna talk about every other trending situation, Dr. Disrespect, Sneako, anything that goes viral goes on your main channel. Chris, the associate of the biggest YouTube channel in the world, you do a 4-minute clip on your second channel. Stop coping and be a journalist if you're gonna be a journalist, or just say that you wanna have the collab. Stop lying.
And I talked about how absurd that statement was, especially given his history with fighting against the age of consent. He's been very vocal about how much he hates the age of consent, and so I talked about that briefly at the end of the video, which then changed the whole narrative for a lot of people where I never talked about Ava Tyson and only talked about Sneako. From that, spawned a conversation where I talked to Sneako directly, because he was very upset that I was talking about how him rallying against the age of consent is pedophile arguments, like defending pedophilia. So I was willing to hear him out on it, and I talked to him in DMs, and he said he doesn't believe in the age of consent, he believes in the age of marriage, can't assign a number to it, but said that when someone can legally drive, they should be able to marry at the same time. And this is where the infamous debate came from, the debate that people are calling the debate of the century. I'm kidding, not a single soul on the planet said that. It's actually one of the most dogshit debates I think human beings have ever had.
And I'd have to agree with Moist Critical here. It was a pretty bad debate, and it wasn't even that Moist Critical was wrong in any of the points that he was saying, right? He just could not articulate his points well enough. Now, I understand that obviously he wasn't under the impression that this was actually supposed to be a debate. He didn't know that this was live, and Sneako really didn't give him any clear indication of that being the case. So understanding that, I have kind of changed my perspective on how this conversation was supposed to work. Like, I don't think I can really call this a debate if one person wasn't even aware that they were debating the other person. Overall, I think Sneako was kind of scummy for it. I mean, Sneako was just kind of scummy in general, but still, I think this is pretty scummy.
He eventually called me on Discord. I was under the impression this was just him and I talking. I had no idea this was going to be a debate. I thought he was going to try and explain himself like, hey, no, this isn't actually what I meant. This is what I'm trying to say. I thought this was a conversation between him and I, not this kind of debate show that he was putting on for his audience. There is nothing in our DMs that indicated that's where it was going. When I joined the call, he asked if I was going to record it, to which I said, I can if he wants me to, but I was also down to just talk. So I thought maybe he wanted it as a recording to, like, explain to people, like, no, he's not actually a pedophile defender or advocating for that kind of thing. So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed. Especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me, that says when he's done streaming, that's when we'll talk, not as a part of his stream. I didn't know this was a debate nor a stream until about an hour and 40 into it, roughly somewhere in that ballpark. I am not a debater. I've never claimed to be one. I never want to be a debater. I've always said that I believe conversations are the most productive because debates always devolve into what side can score the most points by explaining their thought process, even if the position is wrong. Whereas a conversation is a very different thing to me. So I didn't even know that's what this was. So obviously I was unprepared for a fucking debate.
With all this information coming out, it is no doubt that the internet kind of did Moist Critical dirty here, including myself, and for that I apologize. When the debate dropped, I was obviously under the impression that it was a consensual debate between both people. Both people were prepared for it. I had no idea that it was just like a spur-of-the-moment thing for Moist Critical, so that is my fault for kind of assuming that. With that said, I overall think the situation is pretty scummy. I think this has done nothing to change my opinion on Sneako. I still think he's a scummy guy. And the fact that he firmly believes all of this stuff involving minors and the age of consent, I just don't think there's any way I can justify people liking Sneako. With that said, I appreciate you all for stopping by. If you enjoyed today's video, let me know down in the comments, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.